It's Dorm Room Sports Chat. I'm your host, Joey Petrello, along with Go AZ Cats reporters Evan Murray and Danny Passavoy, along with the color commentator for Arizona Wildcat Hockey, Nick Nolenberg. This is Dorm Room Sports Chat.
We apologize for not doing the show on Sunday. Too many of our on-air talents were unable to make the show. Welcome to Dorm Room Sports Chat, and thanks for watching tonight. I'm your host, Lauren Weinberg, accompanied by Go AZ Cats reporter Evan Murray, UATV Senior Director Greg Fingerhut, and Camp Radio Sports Director Joey Petrello. Danny Passavoy and Nick Nolenberger are unable to join us, so necessary changes to the lineup were made for this episode of DRSC. Tonight we will talk Arizona football spring training camp, the baseball squad's successful weekend in Pullman, run down the cat scratch, and wrap things up with fill in the blank in 30 seconds. But before we start, however, all of us here at UATV want to send our thoughts to the people affected by the Boston Marathon bombings yesterday morning. On Saturday, the offense prevailed over the defense in front of 4,095 fans at Kindle Sansit Stadium in Coach Rich Rod's second spring Arizona football scrimmage. The quarterbacks combined for 27 of 49 passing for 349 yards and 8 touchdowns. Greg, which wide receiver impressed you the most, and which one do you think can best replace Austin Hill, who recently suffered a torn ACL injury?
I mean, it's kind of hard to figure out just from one game if someone can step up and fill in the role for the entire season. But, I mean, Tyler Slavin did really well. I mean, he had 97 yards and a touchdown catch, which is good. And honestly, I think that it's not that a wide receiver has to step up. I almost think that for us to have good success, the entire scheme has to change. We might have to go more towards running itself. Kadeem Carey's coming back. He came off of an absolutely amazing season. Obviously, we're not going to have Matt Scott anymore, so maybe BJ Danker can carry the load. It's still kind of a tough question. Maybe Trey Griffey could come in. He redshirted, Ken Griffey Jr.'s son. He redshirted, so hopefully maybe can come in and make an impact in the slot. But from there, we just have to see what's going to happen.
I mean, of course I think the running game should be really important next season, but I think there's huge guys that can. Terrence Miller was out most of last year. He got his medical redshirt, so he's back. He's a huge wide receiver for this team. David Richards had a pretty good season last year. During practice and through the scrimmage in Phoenix, BJ Danker threw the ball to Johnny Jackson a lot. So he's a walk-on, but he should be getting a scholarship this year just from the impact that he had last season. So I think he's also going to be one of the main guys to come in for Austin Hill or whatever we can do to make up for Austin Hill.
See, I was a little disappointed in Terrence Miller and David Richards over this spring game. Combined 4 catches, 67 yards, no touchdowns, and David Richards only had 1 catch for 10 yards. I think he can pick that up, but still I was pretty disappointed in that. However, Clive Georges, the freshman, 5 catches, 72 yards, a touchdown. I really like what Trey Griffey was doing as well. 4 catches, 41 yards for a touchdown. Absolutely incredible play by Slavin, that 1 catch he had in the game for 97 yards for a touchdown. Austin Hill is a huge loss. He's a huge loss. But I'd say, as for wide receiver, we're pretty deep.
Yeah, I'd say, and even last year, I think that we had quite a few options to work with. And Tyler Slavin, I mean, I think the momentum from
he had that game-winning touchdown
catch
in the
and
Mexico
so I
Bowl.
think that momentum, because I know during the last season he definitely slipped off, and I think a lot of people were calling him Butterfingers a little bit, but
you were.
Yeah, I was at least. Okay, I won't speak for everyone. But I really think that he should make a bigger impact this year.
I guess the one thing is that obviously you can't replace 11 touchdowns and 1,300 yards. I mean, that's just something that's really good production. But the one thing, like I said, it's just going to be the question of, obviously there's the entire summer. So first we got to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. Then it's the issue after that of, quarterbacks build chemistry with receivers. It's what happens. So honestly, that's why I don't put that much stock in just the spring games, because there's a whole summer. There's a lot of off-season stuff. There might be freshmen that come in that haven't transfers that haven't been enrolled yet. But I mean, if we had to pick a number one right now, I guess it would be Slavin. But then again, that whole number one might not be like a really perfect term for this. It's going to be a lot of guys doing a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
I think with the receivers, though, we do have a lot of depth, but what about the defense? Evan, only 1 tackle for loss and 2 sacks overall by the Wildcats defense. Are they going to continue struggling to get to the quarterback as they head into the regular season?
I mean, I think defense has been and will still continue to be an issue for the Wildcats even for this coming year. 25 guys were held or injured in the spring scrimmage, so I think that was also an issue. And then you have got big recruits coming in that are going to fill in a lot of those defensive positions. I think regardless, they're still going to be pretty thin, but I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as you saw in the spring game.
One of the biggest problems last year, though, was that if you looked at our team, as far as the Pac-12 goes, our team was very small. Just physically, just size-wise, the entire team was a small team. And the thing about it is, looking at the recruits that they brought in, we're not getting that much bigger. So if we're not getting that much bigger, then we're going to have the same issues we did last year. And the question is, can these smaller athletic guys, maybe some backfield guys, maybe we'll have some cornerback blitzes, maybe we'll have some safety blitzes. We're going to have to really put a very different spin on our press package to be able to take advantage of the people who take advantage of the skill set.
Well, let's be realistic here. Every team in the Pac-12 is going to struggle on defense. There's not really Stanford plays a solid defensive game, but other than that,
everyone's offense is just too good.
The forte of the Pac-12 is offense. However, 6 upperclassmen are on the defensive line this year, and half of them are seniors. So Justin Washington, Tevin Hood, Sion Tui Halamaka. I'm expecting bigger things from those guys than they put up last year. I mean, between the 3 of them, just 1.5 sacks between those 3 guys. However, Reggie Gilbert, the junior, I'm really excited to see him this season. 6 tackles for loss and tackles for losses rather, and 3.5 sacks. However, you're going to see most of the pressure, obviously, put on by Marquis. Have for Rich Rod playing with a drop-back quarterback is I don't know if you guys remember a guy by the name of Tate Forcier from Michigan who was his man when he first started out. He was a drop-back quarterback, and we all know how that turned out.
No one's heard of him since.
Yeah, so I'm a little skeptical about Rich Rod using the drop-back quarterback. So right now, he's not everybody's favorite, but in my opinion, I like B.J. Danker, and I like what he's doing so far.
I'm with you guys. I don't think that we can put all our eggs in one basket at one point. It's still super early. I mean, but we did come off of Nick Foles and Matt Scott, who ran some very good running games, so I'm a little skeptical about that because we haven't seen the best running so far. But thanks, analysts. When we return, we'll debate Arizona baseball. You're watching Dorm Room Sports Chat on UATV3.
Hi, it's David Hasselhoff, the Hawk. Get Hawk with UATV. Stay tuned. Don't change the dial.
People may tune out someone they see on a median trying to sell newspapers.
Those extra few hours of having to swipe your CAT card to get in at night might be keeping non-U of A students out of the library.
And while some are traveling to Mexico for cheaper gas, others are forced to pay those high prices at the pump.
Students and parents are always invited to come cheer on the Wildcats.
We'll see you back here next week for another edition of Wildcats.
Their last 10 games and is riding a hot streak as they play rival Arizona State right now at High Corbett Field. The score of that game right now is currently 6-1 ASU in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Greg, the Cats were playing in the temperatures in the high 30s and low 40s in Pullman against Washington State. How surprised were you that they were able to play well in a series in weather that they're not used to at all?
I mean, some people put a lot more weight into weather and stuff like that than really should be. Obviously, I grew up in New Jersey, so I know what it's like to play sports in cold weather. With baseball specifically, it is very difficult to grip the ball, which is why both games were they won, but they were I can't remember the exact scores, but like 7-5, 6-4, games like that. So obviously it wasn't like it was a pitcher's duel. And also, if you're just in the batter's box or you're in the field, usually you just gotta like focus in, and that's probably what happened when they were trying to figure out what was going on. There wasn't many errors or anything along those lines. It's just in the field they stayed loose. They had to make sure that everything was okay, and obviously they won the game. So I guess that's what really matters. I'm sure players on Washington State. Excuse me. I'm sure not every player in Washington State was used to that too. I doubt many of them are from there. I'm sure they're from other places, Pac-12 recruiting like California, Oregon. So it was probably a disadvantage for both teams.
Well, I was a little bit impressed because they've only played 8 of 37 games so far on the road. So obviously they are not really used to playing on the road that much this year. They've been used to the good old warm 80-degree to 90-degree Tucson weather, and so that impressed me a little bit. But I think you're right, Greg, in that some people overplay the weather kind of thing, but that's such a huge weather change. Right. So I was pretty impressed. And also, they did go to Eugene, Oregon, which is not a warm place by any means. They went there earlier in the season. The hitting was very cold there, besides in that third game of the series where they were able to score 6 runs. But I think that just because Arizona is just overall a better team, better coached, better pitching, better hitting than Washington State, that can eliminate the whole weather kind of thing.
And Evan, of course, everyone knows the Wildcats and Sun Devils are heated enemies in all sports. You got the Duel of the Desert going on all the time. But what does the baseball rivalry mean between these schools in comparison to, say, football or basketball? That competition is super intense.
I think it just has to do with, football and basketball are huge sports here at Arizona, tradition-wise baseball, but at the same time, they just don't bring the crowds out like football and basketball. But I think ASU U of A is a big rivalry as far as baseball goes. The team last season, they had a high of 5,677 people come out. So that was the highest attendance that they've had. So I think that the rivalry definitely brings more people out. And then it does help also that they're both ranked in the top 25, and they both had the same conference record coming into this game. So definitely a lot of attraction to this game as far as the rivalry goes as well.
There's no question about it. Between U of A and ASU, we're competing in football, basketball, academics. Heck, we're competing in party schools too. So baseball is obviously huge. ASU has won 1 more championship than U of A has, and they've won 5. We've got 4. ASU also has the 4th most championships out of any school, but the last time they won it was 1981, and as everybody remembers, we're the defending champs. So also ASU, one stat that was pretty painful for me to look at was that they have 21 conference championships. We have 6. So that hurts. And obviously ASU and U of A, both baseball programs have put through a lot of good alumni. Right. For the U of A, there was Trevor Hoffman, probably one of the greatest closers of all time behind Mo Rivera, and Terry Francona, the manager of the Cleveland Indians, 2-time champion with the Boston Red Sox. And ASU, they've got some pretty decent alum themselves. Dustin Pedroia, Ike Taylor, but then they got Barry Bonds, so just saying.
I guess the major thing right now is obviously with rivalries, it's a sort of thing that obviously with colleges it's different, but they're both good. Like Evan said, that's the major thing right now is that both teams are very good. This year the basketball wasn't really the same because ASU wasn't as good as U of A, and in football the same. Football
it was a little bit more up there this year than normal though.
Yeah,
ASU's program is a little bit more down.
No, that's true. But I guess the thing about it is that obviously there's a lot more hype around Arizona baseball recently since obviously we won the championship last year. And it's just a sort of thing that it's more people want to watch, obviously, because it's ASU. But the fact that both teams are good, it makes it that this time around we'll have to see what happens at the end of the season where the 2 teams stack up. But that's a major reason why I think more people are going to go out more now. Maybe not the midweek game that today was, but got another series coming up. So
yeah.
And be positive, guys. Positive, guys, because it's only the 3rd inning. So
yeah. So
we're down 5 runs. We can come back.
Yep.
And it brings me to my next point because, U of A and ASU were neck and neck in sports pretty much with the exception of basketball, I want to say. But, Joey, both ASU and U of A have similar conference and overall records in baseball. So which team do you think has the most potential going down the stretch?
Well, I think that ASU definitely has a bigger chip on their shoulder just because we are coming off our championship season. ASU didn't even make the College World Series last year, so I think they definitely have something to prove over us right now at the moment. But U of A is out-hitting ASU by 27 batting points right now, and we edge ASU slightly in earned run average as well. So we're beating them in both. Well, not today, we're not. Game's not over. But so far, what statistics have shown is that we're beating them in both hitting and pitching. So from what I see, our records are pretty much the same, but we're playing better than them. So as a U of A student, I'm going to go with my Wildcats. We've got more potential. We're the veterans. We're the champions. We got a better coach, and I think we'll get it done in the end.
A bigger thing with that, when you were talking about veterans, is that a lot of players on Arizona have experience going late in the season. And obviously last year, since they won the championship, ASU's team didn't make the postseason. So it's a sort of thing that we have experience in knowing that at the end of this, going down the stretch, you got to win a couple key games. You got to keep going throughout the rest of the year, out into June if you're going to the College World Series. So I think having that, at least right now, is a huge advantage for University of Arizona over ASU.
I kind of disagree with you guys, just because, one, ASU didn't make the postseason because they were on probation and couldn't. So
wouldn't have made it anyway.
So regardless, that puts a damper on your season as is. You can't make postseason. I think that you already have that mindset. Then what exactly are you working for? And I think that clearly is not the case this season. They are able to make postseason or whatever the case. So I think that they definitely have that chip on their shoulder. But I think U of A should a little bit too, just because I think a lot of people have said that they've lost key guys and they're not going to make it to postseason or do as well as they did last year. So I think that both teams have a big chip on their shoulder, but I think ASU might have a bigger one. That's all.
I think for U of A as it goes, though, we are a young team. We lost a couple key guys last year, but I think that's going to give them some more motivation this year. We won a national championship, yes, and they want to repeat it if they can. They're going to do whatever in their power to get to that point again. But that was great stuff, analysts. Stick around for the cat scratch and fill in the blank. You're watching Dorm Room Sports Chat on UATV3.
I'm Derek Williams, your former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UATV. Don't change the channel.
The life I lead is enough of a dog. I may have fleas, but I run a yard. I see those clones looking down on me, but unlike those clones, this dog is free. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life, dog's life. Oh Lord, it's a dog's life.
Up in the 2013 WNBA draft at a number 16 overall pick, making UA history by being the highest ever draft pick from the Wildcats women's basketball team. She became the 7th Arizona Wildcat to ever be selected in the draft and is one of 3 Pac-12 players in the draft. And next, the senior from Phoenix is headed to the San Antonio Stars. In baseball, the Wildcats took down Washington State this weekend in Pullman by winning 2 of 3 games in the series. Tyler Crawford pitched not only Arizona's first complete game of the season, but also the best of his career in Sunday's 7-3 victory. Crawford allowed 9 hits and 1 walk to go with 3 strikeouts, and 3 of those hits were all in the final 6 innings. The offense also turned in a strong performance, with Riley Moore's 2 RBIs, along with Trent Gilbert going 3 for 5 and Kevin Newman going 2 for 5 at the plate. The Cats host rival Arizona State tonight at High Corbett Field for a single non-conference game, so stay tuned for updates. Some unexpected news in basketball, though it isn't official yet. Forward Grant Jarrett is heard to have expressed interest in entering this year's NBA draft. The freshman has until April 28th to officially enter the draft. And with the rumors of his departure, basketball recruit Eric Cooper Jr. decommitted from Arizona. The 6'2", 180-pound, two-star prospect is one of Jarrett's former high school teammates and still lists Arizona as an option. Time to play fill in the blank. The NFL draft is approaching, and Matt Scott is a quarterback that several teams have had their eye on for a while now. The team that would best fit Scott in the NFL draft would be...
I think, personally, the New England Patriots, because I don't think he's ready to start yet. And I think that Bill Belichick, a lot of teams have been saying, oh, the New England Patriots run such a fast offense. I think that Matt Scott could run that fast offense, just like he did at Arizona. Bill Belichick is an incredible coach who could coach him up for a few years before Tom Brady retires, and then he could be sort of like an Aaron Rodgers who just kind of sat behind him and then came into the scene after a few years when the time had come for him. And I also think that New England always does a very good job of protecting their quarterback, which Matt Scott is going to need because he's. I'm not saying that I'm a tough guy by any means, but Matt Scott is a fragile football player. So I think the New England Patriots is a surprising pick to maybe you guys, but I think that he would fit very well in that system and on that team.
You're right, that was a little surprising. I agree with you that I don't think that Matt Scott is ready to be a starting quarterback. No. I think that also the reason why Patriots might not work too is because they have Ryan Mallett, who they've been grooming for a couple years now.
True, but that would be an interesting competition between those two.
I agree. What I think would be, I agree that he's also is best set right now to be a backup quarterback. I think the 49ers would be a great fit for him.
There.
Sorry. There we go. So, because Alex Smith is gone now. I think that Matt Scott and Colin Kaepernick could. Obviously, I think Colin Kaepernick is better than Matt Scott, but I think that they're very similar quarterbacks. I think they have very similar styles with a very strong throwing arm, but can also go on the move. I think that he will be able to work in Harbaugh's system very well. I think he could be a very good backup quarterback. Obviously, I don't ever want to condone any players getting hurt, but also Colin Kaepernick, if he runs around a lot, might get dinged up, might even have to miss a series or two, and then Matt Scott can hop right in and do what he can do. And I think that would be a really good, to have two young, very versatile quarterbacks would be a great move for the Niners.
Well, my pick is the Jacksonville Jaguars, just because I know that Matt Scott has expressed a lot of interest in them, just because Frank Shelfo, who was a quarterback coach at Arizona in 2010 and 2011, is there as their quarterback coach. And they don't really have a franchise quarterback or anyone that they are really set on, I think. And so I think that would be a good place with him just because, one, he really wants to be there. And I think that Frank Shelfo also has a desire for him to be there. They have the number 33 pick and the 64. So I think that's kind of a better place for him to be drafted. And that just makes the most sense as far as, a relationship goes and the desire to want to be somewhere.
And it's warm weather too, so I do kind of like that pick.
I guess the only thing is you got to see what they decide, what the Jaguars decide to do with Blaine Gabbert, and I think they gave Chad Henne a pretty hefty deal recently.
Right. So who knows why?
So yeah. So it's the sort of thing that you're not. I don't think people that are basically the quarterbacks in this draft are not. We're not going to see Russell Wilson. We're not going to see Andrew Luck. We're not going to see RG3 who are going to step in and start right away. Even Nick Foles, who came in during the season. I think Matt Scott can be a really quality backup anywhere. I really don't see him competing for a starting job. No. However, if he was in Jacksonville, he could. No one else obviously, Henne and Gabbert have done some things, but not too much. So
I think it'd be a good spot for him.
There's teams where the quarterback position is wide open. The Jets are wide open. My Buffalo Bills are wide open. Jacksonville's open, so there's plenty of spots for him to step into somewhere and compete for a starting job. But I'm kind of liking your Jacksonville Jaguars pick, Evan, because just the warm weather just the relationship with the coach. But I'm still going to stick with the Patriots.
Well, okay.
I could definitely see the Jaguars and the Niners. I really can't see the Patriots.
Really, I think
you're feeling optimistic. We understand.
I think that any team that has a quarterback design where he's going to scramble, if your guy like RG3 or Russell Wilson or Colin Kaepernick was to go down, then Matt Scott is a guy that would be very fitting to fill in for that offense. I just think that the Patriots would be the most intriguing and and he'd be the best coached and trained there under Tom Brady as well.
And something I read that was very interesting was that he did workouts for NFL scouts, and he threw 85 balls, which, according to some scouts on, I think this was through Bleacher Report, that's 20 more than
that's
than
on pro,
anyone's.
he did that on Pro Day.
Yeah, he did that on Pro Day. That's what I meant, and it's that that's unheard of.
Yeah.
So it's the whole point of that is he wanted to show that he has the stamina, he can have the strength late in games to come in and compete. I mean, Matt Scott's trying to do anything he can to rise up the draft boards, and he has been recently.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he can make another push to go even higher. I mean,
And you say he's fragile. He gained up.
He's just got to protect that noggin.
don't puke on the sideline. Don't puke on the field.
It's about his head. I heard that he's been bulking up
He's
a little
definitely
bit,
bulked up.
but still, somebody hits you in the head. Doesn't matter how jacked you are. The head is the most fragile part of the body when it comes to football. That's why they're making all these rule changes about it.
Their defense might be, wherever he goes, their defense might be a little bit better than Arizona's, so who knows?
Yeah,
maybe just
that
a
could
little.
be hard.
Maybe just a little.
I'm going to go with you, Greg. Completely on board for the 49ers.
Thank
Not
you.
just because I'm a
Biased.
loyal fan, maybe a little biased, but Colin Kaepernick runs one of the, best running games we saw this season. Once again, little biased, but Matt Scott knows how to run. Jim Harbaugh runs a fast-paced, quick offense, and I think Matt Scott would fit right into it. Of course, he's not going to start, but, I think that he has a lot of potential that a lot of people didn't really see, but some people did see. I think Harbaugh was one of those people. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back for our final segment of 30 seconds.
People may tune out someone they see on a median trying to sell newspapers.
Those extra few hours of having to swipe your cat card to get in at night might be keeping non-U of A students out of the library.
And while some are traveling to Mexico for cheaper gas, others are forced to pay those high prices at the pump.
Students and parents are always invited to come cheer on the Wildcats.
We'll see you back here next week for another edition of Wildcast.
Welcome back to Dorm Room Sports Chat on UATV3. For our final segment, we'll play a game of 30 seconds. Greg, you're up first.
I want to talk about the major leagues, and specifically I want to talk about the hottest team in baseball and my favorite team, the Atlanta Braves. They're 12-1 right now. Justin Upton, obviously, is a sour subject for Diamondbacks fans, but he's batting .340, 8 home runs, 12 RBIs. Paul Maholm, who has been a fantasy star for me, 3-0, 20 strikeouts, 0 ERA. If they keep pitching like that up, and the hitting, that helps too, along with the great story of Evan Gattis, who 2 years ago right now, he was a janitor. Now he's a rookie, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. He's doing a really good job for them.
Evan, your turn.
I'm going to go talking about Grant Jarrett. I understand where he's coming from and putting his name in the draft. I don't agree with it at all. I think that he, as a highly recruited high school player, expected, a lot more playing time than he did. And I think he's going to have a problem with not starting next year. And, you have Aaron Gordon, who I don't care what anyone says, he's an automatic start. And then you have Brandon Ashley, who I'm sure is getting the starting job over Grant. And so I just feel like, and I know he doesn't want to sit out because he's this highly recruited guy who should have gotten playing time, but I don't agree with his decision and should be interesting.
All right, Joey, take it away.
There were two non-American golfers that I have been pulling for a long time, and that's Sergio Garcia and Adam Scott. Adam Scott, I just want to say congratulations on winning the Masters. There were so many times in all those majors where he would come so close and he'd enter Sunday leading, and he would just end up losing it in the end, unfortunately. But I'm happy for him that he was able to get it. Sergio, we still need you to win one. Also disappointed that an American didn't win it, but if anyone besides an American, I would want to see Adam Scott win it.
That's all we have for tonight on Dorm Room Sports Chat. Thanks for watching this week's episode. Don't forget to tune in on Sunday for another segment. You're watching Dorm Room Sports Chat, UATV3.
But also, a lot of people, I think, underestimate B.J. Danker's ability to run the ball. 36 rushing yards. Not the same deal for Jack Nykaza nor Jesse Scroggins. Both of those guys struggled on their feet, especially Scroggins. Nykaza, I was impressed with his arm, though. 8 of 12 passing, 89.
Huge. And Jesse Scroggins just got off an injury. He said after the game that he didn't even know that he was going to be playing. So at the same time, I don't know if he's 100%. Regardless, he's pretty rusty.
He didn't look 100%.
We all saw he has a great arm, but at the same time, he was rusty, and I think that he just wasn't necessarily as comfortable as BJ was, even because he hasn't been practicing this spring. So you have Anu Solomon coming in the fall. I mean, you have more competition. This is going to be a fun battle, but I definitely don't think anyone's even close to won it yet.
Yeah, and like you said, Greg, the spring isn't an indication at all for what the starting lineup is going to be coming into the regular season.